Footy lovers, come with a new explainer as we dive into the history and origins of La Liga. Today, we're looking way past the staggering modern trophy counts of Real Madrid and Barcelona. We're looking past the global superstars and those billion-dollar TV deals to really uncover the true roots of Spanish football. Because honestly, you simply cannot understand these modern giants without understanding the blood, sweat, and intense political landscapes that forged them. I am absolutely thrilled to take you on this journey because the story of how this league came to be is just as dramatic as the football played on the pitch today. So it begs the question, right? How exactly did a messy, highly contested idea ultimately become the biggest club rivalry on the planet? Before the world-class stadiums and international broadcasting rights we know today, La Liga was just a fragile concept. It was born out of a very argumentative, incredibly tense meeting room back in 1928, full of stubborn club reps desperately trying to find common ground. To truly grasp what this global giant is today, we have to start well before the league even existed. Section 1. Before the National League. Now, it might actually surprise you, but Spanish football operated for a long time as this highly fractured patchwork of regional competitions. When you trace the chronology, you see just how early the passion ignited. You've got Barcelona forming in 1899. By 1901, the Catalan Championship was up and running, acting essentially as a proper league, but strictly limited only to Catalonia. Then, in 1902, the Copa de la Coronación was held, which eventually led to the founding of the legendary Copa del Rey in 1903. These regional cup competitions were fantastic, bringing isolated teams together from different areas of the country. But as the sport exploded in popularity by the mid-1920s, a glaring issue popped up. Despite all these regional clashes, there was absolutely no true, consistent way to determine the absolute best team in the entire country. Section 2. The Messy Birth, 1928. The birth of a national league was anything but smooth. In fact, the very first serious attempt totally flopped because the clubs simply couldn't agree on a unifying structure. Finally, the Royal Spanish Football Federation had to step in, hammering out a reluctant compromise on November 23, 1928. 10 founding clubs earned their spots primarily through past Copa del Rey successes. You had names we still celebrate today, like Athletic Bilbao, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Atletico Madrid, lining up alongside historic clubs like Real Unión and Arenas Club de Guecho. This lineup essentially created a geographic battleground right out of the gate. From day one, this league was a fierce, passionate contest between Basque, Catalan, and Madrid football. And you know what? Those are regional tensions that absolutely still define Spanish football today. That inaugural 18-game season delivered an absolute thriller of a title race, setting the tone for the next century. Imagine the tension on that final match day. We are talking about a razor-thin margin. Barcelona edged out Real Madrid by just 2 points to be crowned the first ever champions of Spanish football. It came right down to the wire, with Barcelona grinding out a win against Real Unión, while Real Madrid's hopes were completely dashed as they lost away at Athletic Bilbao. The heart-pounding drama, the devastating heartbreak, it was literally baked into the league's DNA from day one. Section 3. War and Rising Tensions. Moving into the 1930s, the story shifts drastically. Modern fans might naturally assume that Madrid or Barca dominated these early years, but they really didn't. It was actually Athletic Bilbao, winning 4 of the first 8 titles. Then, in 1966, the devastation of the Spanish Civil War broke out, throwing the entire country and inevitably La Liga into complete chaos. The league was halted for years. When the dust finally settled, the social landscape of the clubs revealed some deeply intriguing roots. Both major Madrid clubs actually shared bourgeoisie origins from outside the capital. Real Madrid's first president came from a Catalan family running a major textile company, while Atletico's first president had mining and railway interests over in Lyon. It's a pretty fascinating historical twist to think about how these two massive capital clubs were originally seeded by wealth from the provinces. But as the league rebuilt after the devastating war, their paths and identities diverged wildly. Now, it's absolutely crucial we look at this historical record neutrally. Post-war political tensions heavily impacted these institutions. Real Madrid found themselves actively investigated by the new regime over alleged wartime affiliations with the Frente Popular. Meanwhile, Atletico, who were then known as Atletico Aviación, enjoyed direct military backing and claimed the early post-war league championships. You can imagine the absolute pressure cooker environment this created in the capital. The deep rivalry was heavily stoked by these intensely contrasting political realities of the era. Section 4. El Clásico. Ultimate rivalry. As the balance of power shifted dramatically in the 1950s, the sporting rivalry between Real Madrid and Barcelona evolved into something much deeper, heavily politicized and culturally monumental. The absolute crucial pivot point here was the signing of Alfredo Di Stefano. Club president Santiago Bernabeu managed to bring Di Stefano to Real Madrid following a highly controversial transfer dispute, leaving Barcelona feeling entirely robbed by the whole process. And this wasn't just any player, folks. Di Stefano transformed Real Madrid into a genuine superpower, leading them to an unbelievable 5 consecutive European Cups. This single acquisition fundamentally altered the DNA of Real Madrid and forever poured gasoline on the blazing fire of El Clásico. The animosity between the two clubs eventually reached an absolute boiling point. Just picture the chaos of the 1968 Copa del Rey final at the Bernabeu. The atmosphere was so incredibly toxic that glass bottles literally rained down onto the pitch from the stands. One fan famously stated, "The final of the bottles made me anti-Madridista." It became an iconic turning point that perfectly captures just how intensely personal and deeply seated the hatred had become between the two massive institutions.
Yet what makes El Clásico so fascinating is that, despite that intense hatred, there is a totally unique undercurrent of profound respect. I mean, think about the bitterest rivalry in your own life, and then imagine standing up to applaud them. It happens here. Traditions like the Pasillo, the guard of honor for the champions, have been a grudging part of the rivalry. But even more amazingly, the notoriously fierce Bernabeu crowd has actually risen to its feet to give standing ovations to Barcelona legends. They did it for Diego Maradona in 1983 and again for Ronaldinho in 2005. It really goes to show how complex, multifaceted, and deeply appreciative of pure footballing genius this rivalry really is.
Section 5. The Basque Derby's Bond. Down south isn't the only place with deep history, though. Up north, the rivalry between Real Sociedad and Athletic Bilbao offers a completely different narrative, one that is deeply respectful and centered around a powerful sense of community. Athletic Bilbao strictly relies on an unwritten policy of only fielding players who are born or learn their football skills in the Basque Country. Think about how rare and unbelievable that philosophy is in our modern era of global all-stars and endless transfer budgets. It restricts their talent pool massively, yet it hasn't stopped them from being one of the only 3 clubs in history to never, ever be relegated from LaLiga. This derby seriously transcends sports. Imagine the tension in the stadium back in December 1976. Carrying the Basque flag could have resulted in severe, immediate consequences from the authorities. Yet rival captains Ignacio Cortabarria and José Ángel Aribar marched out onto the pitch together, holding that very flag, which was still entirely illegal at the time. It was a profound, deeply brave show of unity in the face of intense political pressure. Winning the football match is everything, of course, but the shared cultural pride of the community definitely comes first. And this incredible bond was proven again very recently. During the 2020 Copa del Rey final between the two Basque clubs, both teams willingly forfeited their European qualification spots. They made this massive sacrifice just to delay the match, holding out hope that the severe pandemic restrictions would lift so their fans could attend in person. It was dubbed the most significant moment in Basque football history because it beautifully highlighted exactly what the game means to their community. It's not just a business for them, it's family. Section 6. The Modern Global Giant. Fast forward a bit, and spurred by massive industry shifts, like the 1995 Bosman ruling, which accelerated cross-border player movement, and exponential increases in television rights, LaLiga rapidly transformed. It evolved from a fierce domestic contest into a highly polished global entertainment product. The historic cultural battles we've been talking about morphed into a war of international superstars. The rivalry expanded into a spectacle of attacking trios, famously peaking with Real Madrid's spectacular BBC, Gareth Bale, Karim Benzema, and Cristiano Ronaldo, facing off against Barcelona's MSN, Lionel Messi, Luis Suarez, and Neymar. The tactical and technical quality on the pitch during this era was simply unprecedented. As a direct result of this modern arms race, the dominance of these two clubs is just staggering. Today, Real Madrid, with 36 titles, and Barcelona with 29, hold roughly 2/3 of all historic league championships. Think about that for a second. It's a duopoly that completely chokes out the rest of the league, and it is totally unmatched in any other major European competition. And the individual records forged in this era? They're just as mathematically absurd. 311 goals. That is what Cristiano Ronaldo achieved in just 292 appearances for Real Madrid. I'll let that impossible ratio sink in for a moment. It perfectly highlights the breathtaking world-class quality that La Liga now broadcasts to over 180 countries every single week. We've journeyed all the way from a contested, fragile agreement in a 1928 meeting room to one of the most lucrative and culturally significant sporting products on earth. But we've honestly only scratched the surface of nearly a century of Spanish football history. So I want to leave you with this question. What legendary La Liga era should we explain next? Do we dive into the tactical revolution of the Cruyff Dream Team, the absolute peak of the Messi Ronaldo decade, or perhaps Athletic Bilbao's forgotten dynasty? Let me know. And keep seeking out the fascinating structures behind the sports we love, because the history of the game is for sure just as beautiful as the game itself.